A few things no one tells you about cosmetology school. My license strictly says cosmetology and hairstyling. I wanted to be a hairstylist, so I had no issues with anything that needed to be done in the classroom. Unfortunately, what no one tells you is that if you want to be a nail technician or an esthetician, that's only a little part of the entire 2-year course. So, for example, when I was in cosmetology school for 2 years, we did makeup for maybe 2 to 3 days. We did theory on makeup where we learned about it. We learned about different skin tones, certain things that affect oily skin and dry skin, very minor details. And she had makeup palettes for us to play with and practice on. But our teacher never really instructed us on how to use makeup. If you want to be a makeup artist and do like dramatic makeup for prom, for Halloween, for anything like that, cosmetology school will drag for you because they're not focused on that. It's literally, I'm going to say 85% hair, 5% makeup, and 10% nails. That's how it's done. So I have noticed some girls that were in my class, they got into the hair a little bit. As time went on, we got comfortable, we got close. But I know one girl specifically wanted to do makeup, and the days dragged for her. Like she was tired of doing hair. So that's another thing about cosmetology school. Same when it comes to nails. If you want to be a nail technician, that's hardly what you do. We learned a lot about funguses, about different nail shapes and techniques you can do. We learned about sanitation when it came to nails. But if you want to be solely a nail tech, again, the day will drag. So you have to think about that. Are certain states that have esthetician license solely. There are certain states that have nail technician licenses solely, but not every state has it. So if you really want to be a makeup artist or really want to be a nail technician and that's it, and your state only offers cosmetology license, it's going to be hard for you to be in class. Go in with an open mind, knowing you're going to learn multiple things. And when it comes to your specific niche that you want to do, just know it's not going to be every day you're going to do that. That's going to be upsetting at first. But if you keep an open mind, you learn about hair, you learn about different things. When you get your cosmetology permit, before you get your license, you're able to work while you're in school. So during that time, you can find something that's just makeup or just facial, something you're focused on. So at least when you're in school doing hair that you don't want to do, you can still get experience with your permit and work in a spot you're really interested in. When it comes to work, school just gives you the foundation. And I'm sure a lot of you heard this. School gives you the foundation of what you need. The workplace gives you the experience and you actually know what's going on. So that's the same thing with cosmetology school. My teacher had a lot of experience, so she told us a lot of things. When I got my permit, I actually worked at a hair salon while I was in school. So I got a lot of experience there as well. But when you go to class, a lot of it is state board requirements. You're literally practicing for the test. So not only do we do theory with bookwork, we have practical where it's hands-on. So literally, the state board test requires you to do pin curls, rollers, which nobody gets done, finger waves, and I'm trying to think the last thing. Oh, perm rods. So it was this thing called a state board set. So that was everything you had to do to pass the state board set. And it's interesting because you see, like, I wear braids. You see, people do different styles. They do balayage, they do highlights. None of those things were on the state board test. There was nothing that was anything creative, anything that showed your personality. They gave you something to do, and this is what they wanted you to do. Even though no one wears finger waves anymore, even though no one wears certain styles anymore, that's the original state board requirement, and you have to do it perfectly to pass the test. When it got closer to the end of graduating, I'm going to say the last 3 months, that's all we did. We went in, she said, do your state board set, do this, do that. They had also certain ways for you to paint nails. So you got to paint in the middle, side to side. If you double code, if you do 4 codes, they fail you for that section. So everything was very by the book. But when you go to the workplace, you're not doing that. So why do they require us to do it a certain way when in the workplace it's completely different? So another advice I would say is just focus on the test. Focus on what you need to pass the test. And once you pass, do whatever you want. Get your own business, work somewhere that you could be creative, but when it comes to the test, just do it the way they want, even though you think it's wrong. Do learn a lot of safety and sanitation rules. I know there was a few weeks where we focused on sanitizing when it came to hair, barbicide, when it came to nails, facial stuff. There was a lot of sanitation rules, and it does get boring, I will say. But again, go in with an open mind. Remember, you need this. I actually kept my cosmetology book for a few years after I graduated, only because it would be random things if I was in the salon and I saw someone with a nail fungus. I'm like, I think I saw that in my book, and I would like look it up versus Googling what does this look like, as things got easier. But it was nice to have that book to look back on, even though it's old school, no one worried about it anymore. I always like to look back on it to see there's some things we learn that we actually do see in the workplace. Another thing, also, if you have a cool teacher, we used to have free Fridays where we were able to do whatever we wanted, whether it was give our classmen a facial, whether it was do their hair, whether it was do something. We had a free Friday. Some teachers do it once a month, some teachers do it whenever they want, every other month, but we used to have it for the most part every Friday. Sometimes she would skip a Friday if we were behind the day before on bookwork, but she tried to do every Friday. And it also gives you time to practice on your state board test. If you're there for hours and she gives you a free Friday, again, you can go ahead and do your front hair if you want to. You can get a facial done yourself. You get your toes done. But if you spend those few hours just focusing on the state board exam practical, the teacher's right there to tell you, yes, you did this wrong. No, you did this right. And she'd give you that one-on-one time. So as the state test got closer, that's what I was doing during free Fridays. But before that, I would get my facial, I would do my friend's facial. We would just do a lot of things. So that was a fun thing about being in cosmetology school because you had all the tools there. Everything was free. Everything was free, and they use high quality products because they want you to get used to using that in the workplace. As you finish up beauty school, try to think, what is your end goal? I talk about when you get your permit prior to your license, you can start working in a salon. So if you're able to do that, try to do that right away because it gives you the experience at the beginning. It has you see what you want to do, what you might not want to do. Maybe you're just doing this for money until you get your license. Try to think of your end goal mainly, just so you know and can try to figure out how to succeed moving forward.